I'm Jake Hyde, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, welcome to Dragonheart. I am joined by Mark Griffiths. It's been a very dramatic week in the Wrexham world, doesn't it, Mark? But an amazing one.
Oh, just a bit. I mean, of course, the big news is that the Red Baron nickname that I've been trying to get to catch on since I mentioned it on Dragonheart for Aaron Hayden seems like it is actually catching on. Humphrey Carr used it in his leader column, so I reckon I might have invented a nickname for a Wrexham player. I'm more excited about this than you could imagine. And apparently, there's been some football matches too, but I'm not sure about that. That's none of my business.
Well, we will touch on the Red Baron as always, but we've got the Wealdstone match, and I'm going to talk about my experience as a fan, the anxieties going up there, looking at the weather changing as we were driving down to London. Got the Chesterfield match. We got a few of the epic weather games that Mark had a chat with on Twitter last week, and a few other bits and bobs, Wrexham related as usual, all that good stuff. So yeah, this is Dragonheart.
I'm Liam McClendon, and this is Dragonheart.
Wealdstone, the first game that we're going to chat about today, Mark, it was sensational, but completely in a different way to what Chesterfield was. Yeah, it was a real tough, gritty game on hard conditions, but we got there in the end, didn't we?
Well, I believe that's true of your journey there as well, isn't it? But,
yeah.
I mean, I was delighted with it. Now, I know those people who listened on the Wrexham player commentary will know I got very excited. And I make no apology for it. But I got to be honest, part of the reason I was excited is I felt I could see it coming. I thought we were excellent. You know, I mean, I thought our performance for the whole 90 was superb. There was a small spell at the start of the second half where they managed to get at us, and that was it. Their penalty came absolutely out of the blue. And I was delighted of our performance. My only concern was that we hadn't put them to bed. We should have been ahead well before that penalty. But we were so dominant that I did feel that a reward was coming. You know, we were opening them up all the time. We were making chances. Our quality of approach play was really, really good. And it was one of those odd games where you're losing 1-0 with 2 minutes left. But I was still thinking, we could win this. And funnily enough, that's how it turned out.
And credit to their goalkeeper. He had an excellent game, didn't he? He made some real solid saves. They're a stubborn team to come across, Wealdstone. They were a tough opposition. The conditions weren't great either, being there. I know you were commentating, but the pitch wasn't obviously in peak condition, but it was good enough condition to play. But it was horrible weather. I thought as soon as that penalty happened, because we had a clearance off the line, didn't we, before that, and we've hit the post, and we were huffing and puffing throughout the whole game, really, weren't we? And I knew as soon as we conceded that penalty, which was a bit dubious, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought we're going to lose this 1-0, but I do back this team to the end. I think if we are only one down, or if it's 0-0, we are always in it with the quality we have.
Yeah, we've got firepower, and remember Mullen's coming back now as well. But we have got enough firepower. We've got enough creativity. Jarvis was floating around and making space for Davis and Young. Those two got to some fabulous positions. The wing backs were really high up the pitch as well. We know that McFadden's got good delivery from wide areas. So, you know, we had a lot of creativity. We had a lot of threat. It was just a case of actually getting on the end of something, finishing it off. I wondered whether the fact that we played so well but had problems actually really manufacturing clear chances in a way could have been because by using Jarvis to create space like that, we were leaving Palmer a little bit isolated. There wasn't much for him to combine with. But it did lead to a really fluent performance. You know, essentially a midfield diamond, moving the ball around really well, dominating play. And I guess maybe that's another reason why I felt quite calm, thinking, okay, hopefully we can get the points here. But this is a continuation of the quality of the Boreham Wood performance. This does feel like we're continuing to look more coherent since we brought the new players in January, and I felt encouraged on that basis as well. But okay, I am rather relieved that we got 2 goals at the end. It must have felt quite fun in the away end. That.
Oh well, yeah. And that was an away end to remember. It was just like a big piece of scaffolding. But it was why I love going to these non-league grounds and seeing these really unique stadiums and clubs. But yeah, it was packed full of Wrexham fans. Whether they've seen that many away fans before, I don't know. But yeah, it was very. I think up until the 85th, when we got the free kick, it was very anxious. You could feel the anxiety in the crowd, really, and you could see a lot of fans getting frustrated. And when that first goal went in, it was excellent. And been a lot of complaints from some Wealdstone fans saying it never should have counted. Is this true?
Yes, that is true. That goal should not have counted. The rules on free kicks are the same as penalties. You can't kick it to yourself. So if the ball comes back off the post, it's got to touch somebody else first. I've got to be honest, at the time, I was too busy going nuts to even think about that. And it was only later on when I saw on Twitter somebody asking the question that I thought, hold on a sec. So I double checked it. And yeah. Referee got the rules wrong. I consider us even now with National League refs after the whole Manny Smith getting sent off when the rules said he shouldn't have been sent off at Maidstone, and then Mark Carrington also getting sent off for telling the ref the rules don't say that anymore. So I consider us even now. Referees not knowing the rules have helped us and hindered us now. So I feel quite pleased about that. But yeah, it is quite surprising the ref didn't spot that. Maybe he didn't realise that it was Jordan who took the free kick. Do you see what I mean? He didn't think it was the same player.
Yeah, and it was a lot. There's a lot going on the pitch. You can't bat a referee for making stuff like that. It's not like it was an awful challenge and someone's got hurt and there's you know what I mean. These things happen. If VAR was involved, then it wouldn't have been a goal, would it?
You trust VAR?
Fortunately for us,
then.
yeah, that is true.
Well, that's worse.
If it was Man United, if it was Man United, it'd probably be a goal.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to stick up for the refs. When we get to the Chesterfield game, don't you worry, I'm going to do a rare sticking up for the ref section, because I thought that ref, having looked back at the footage, got a lot of tight calls right. So don't you worry, I'm in a pro ref mood today. But that shouldn't have counted our Jordan Davis's goal, but it was a beauty, wasn't it?
It was a beauty, and then when it went in, there was a real good atmosphere in that away end, and it started getting bouncing. And then, wow, the Reece Johnson goal, the atmosphere in that away end was something else. I had a couple of pints before the game, but I remember just everyone's running to the front, and I've fallen over. I smashed my shoulder on some sort of scaffolding pole. 3 people falling on top of me, and there was people just running around like it was infants kids in for their dinner break. It was absolutely mental. Crazy scenes in the away end, and 3 points that we deserved as well.
Absolutely. And I of course, I note that Bill was with you, and he's not able to co-host today. Not it's not because he's a bit too roughed up, was he? And that's a sort of take it with player's medical card. I've heard talk of a front flip by Bill when we scored that winning goal.
Well, he's I think the Wealdstone celebrations has really hit him hard, so he's on a medical suspension for a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a truly great away day, a fantastic club as well. I must add, and I've got to say I've not been as impressed by the communication of their club. I rephrase that. I was really, really impressed by Wealdstone, how they were communicating with us as fans before the game, because there was a big storm this weekend, and it was very touch and go whether the game would actually be on. And the fact that they were always communicating with us on Twitter was just excellent. They didn't have to do that. But yeah, I'm assuming the communication between Wealdstone and Wrexham was very good from so I've heard.
That's right. Wealdstone deserve a lot of credit, I think, for the way they've handled this. Because remember, they had a game in midweek that was called off because of the pitch. So you had the storm and the fact that the pitch might not be right. And they were very good with Wrexham as a club, constantly letting us know, we think the pitch is fine. We don't, say there's no pitch inspection planned. They gave a definitive message on that and early on the Saturday morning to say the pitch is definitely fine. It's only whether the storm affects travel and things like that would stop it. And I just got to say that to be fair, you could turn around and say, well, clubs ought to be doing that. And I accept that. That's just the basic minimum. Sadly, clubs don't. And there's two reasons for that. One is at our level, often clubs are a bit undermanned. And so again, well done to Wealdstone, because they're not a big club, but they made sure that they treated us right. So, that's a club with dignity as far as I'm concerned. And also, sometimes you don't get that with clubs because the people at the clubs, quite frankly, don't care about anything but themselves. And unfortunately, we come across a lot of clubs like that in the National League. And I can tell you, I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you that there are some clubs that Wrexham Football Club know will probably not even communicate with them in a lead up to a Wrexham away game. Or if they will, it'll be the bare minimum and it'll be on their terms. They won't be answering our calls. Some clubs are like that. Some clubs just don't pick up the phone from Saturday to Saturday. And to be frank, I think I've told this story before. It's not just in the National League. Milton Keynes Dons calling off a game really late where the team, there was actually Wrexham staff in the stadium setting things up and the game was off and nobody told us. The team is having a meal in a hotel down the road. Boston called a game off really late, and essentially when everyone arrived at Boston said, "Oh, that was never going to be on." Well, thanks. So some clubs, I'm afraid, don't handle themselves well. So although there's part of me says, well, surely the least you expect is what Wealdstone did. The fact is that no, you can't assume that. And hats off to Wealdstone, well done. Not a massively staffed club, but they do things right. And that's what I've heard about them before anyway. They're a proper class act, so good luck to them. I'm glad they're going to stay up this year, and I hope next year they can build on more. They've done well this year, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think the programme needs to have a shout out as well, as it had CPD Wrexham as well, all spelt in Welsh, which I thought was a lovely touch, considering, a lot of, and I'm not just saying this, but I'm going to say this carefully, but there's a lot of English media, shall we say, who make jokes of the Welsh language and, belittle it. And it's really nice to see a club, in their own little way, embrace it. And and I've also got to say the pit pubs and the people around that area. I've been to London quite a few times for football and for other events, and I've never really enjoyed it. But going to Wealdstone was my best experience of London. The people were really hospitable, really friendly towards Wrexham fans. I also have to say a shout out to the stewards and the door staff they had, the bouncing staff they had, who, when Wrexham fans were getting a bit excited, I'm not condoning it, and getting on the pitch and we scored and stuff, weren't too heavy-handed. They treated us with respect. And there was Wrexham fans who were shaking their hands and they were saying, "Well done, lads. Thanks for coming to see us," sort of thing. And it was really nice, really warm, really welcoming club. And if we don't go up this year, I'll certainly be going there again because I really enjoyed my time there. So yeah, cracking little club, Wealdstone.
What would we expect? Should we expect anything otherwise from the Glen Little derby? He went there, didn't he, after he was with us? So,
of course.
If you share Glen Little, you've got to have a positive view of life, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I didn't know that, but yeah, 100%. The Glen Little derby is a fantastic little game, and good luck to Wealdstone for the rest of the season, because they give us 2 tough games this year. And I think if they carry on playing like that, even so next season, they won't have any problems staying up.
I think
So,
as well.
yeah.
I thought their manager expressed it very well before the game. Actually, I should have said as well, their previous match, of course, was a superb win at Barnes, and that's their local derby.
Yeah.
They played really, really well. And some of their fans misbehaved in a very unpleasant way, Wealdstone. But let's be honest, they weren't fans. They were idiots in the Wealdstone end. And the club, Wealdstone, were very, very quick to call them out and to say, we're about family atmosphere. We're about being inclusive. And we don't want these people at our ground. So again, a club that acts quickly because it knows what's right and what isn't. And that pleases me. And I've got to be frank and say that I am particularly pleased to see them win their derby away from home 3-1, because Barnes are one of the difficult clubs. So good.
Yeah.
Well done, Wealdstone. Thank you for doing that to us. But after that match, their manager, I thought, hit the nail on the head, essentially saying that in a sort of low-key way, Wealdstone have been really good. They haven't had any sort of big winning runs or massively eye-catching results, but they've consistently been solid. They've not had any losing runs either. They've just constantly been picking up points, which is, as you can see with us. I mean, well, they could have won that match, obviously, even though we played very well. And at the racecourse, they drew 0-0, but they certainly didn't park the bus, did they? They were very well organised, good passing team, and they just kept us at arm's length. And that was one of the more impressive away performances at the racecourse this season, I thought. So, no, I've got an awful lot of time for Wealdstone. Well done to them.
Yeah, well done to them. So, another Wrexham-related thing that we're going to be talking about next is that potentially iconic away day Chesterfield game.
From the heart of your community, Wrexham's heartbeat. This is Calon FM.
Chesterfield away, under the lights, was always going to be a huge game. It's not too far away, is it? Chesterfield as well. They're second in the league. They've got a fantastic side. What a result, Mark. 2-0 away from home.
Fantastic, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. What a win. I was hopeful beforehand because I'd seen Chesterfield's game against Solihull. They lost 3-2. They had a player sent off early on, but that was no excuse of the way they threw away a 2-0 lead. They were horrible. Could have let in so many more. And I was really optimistic. And then the first half hour shook me a bit because, let's be honest, if it wasn't for Rob Lainton, we'd have really suffered, wouldn't we? He was brilliant, Lainton, with one-on-one saves, acrobatic saves, everything. And if it hadn't been for him, that game would have gone away from us very quickly, I think, wouldn't it, Chay?
Oh, yeah. 100%. He was, for me, I had a word with my brother after the game. We both said our man of the matches. I said Rob Lainton. I think without those amazing saves at the start of the game and the one-on-ones and the bravery as well, he almost got injured through one of them, didn't he? It was just an excellent performance by him. And when you have a goalkeeper who's keeping you in the game, they don't get all the praises all the time, a goalkeeper does, but really it's just important to have a goalkeeper of that quality if you want to get promoted. He really did win us the game yesterday.
I was saying in the commentary yesterday that when Dennis Smith was manager, he'd do press conferences, and I like Dennis Smith a lot. He was often a bit contrary, would say the exact opposite of what you expected. And I remember sometimes, I don't know if he was also trying to keep his feet on the ground. I remember Christian Rogers had a really good game in goal for Wrexham. Was it Rogers or maybe it wasn't? Maybe it was Mike Ingham. And when Smith was asked about that, he basically said, well, that's what he's paid for, isn't it? Next question sort of thing. Because, I pick a goalkeeper so he can make those saves. And there's an element of truth in it, but it's like you said, you need that player that you can fall back on. So we've been, teams haven't been creating many chances against us lately, but Chesterfield opened us up massively. And it was when we needed Lainton, and he showed up for us, didn't he? He was absolutely terrific. Like you said, he was brave as well. And I can't help wondering if that injury stoppage was the turning point in the game. Because if you remember it, well, firstly, it was Chesterfield's best chance. And Asante is one-on-one with Lainton, and Lainton, as we all know, I mean, his great strength. He's so quick, isn't he? He was off his line like anything. As Colin Henrys, who was commentating with me, rightly said, after that penalty last Saturday, you know, there could have been doubts in his head, but no, he's clear-minded goalkeeper, knows his strengths. He came herring out so quickly and made the block. And then while he's getting treated, I mean, the problem from my perspective, the problem in the opening 25 minutes was Chesterfield pulled a tactical stroke by completely changing their formation, and we didn't adapt to it at all. I was quite gratified afterwards hearing Parkinson say the same thing, because I think he read it the way I did. We were caught out by the way they played. They had players popping up between our midfield and defence that we didn't expect, and we struggled to control them, and they had lots of space in that part of the pitch. So while Lainton's getting treated, Parkinson had the whole team over with him, and he reorganised, and we matched him up. We went to a box midfield, and from that point onwards, Chesterfield didn't make many chances. We got a grip on the middle of the pitch, and for the rest of the half, we kept them at arm's length, and then in the second half, we completely dominated them. And hats off to Parkinson, who some people call tactically inflexible, because that was him shifting our shape decisively and changing the match. But at that moment then, Lainton kept us at 0-0, and then Parkinson switched it around. And from that point on, we were massively dominant, and for an hour with a better side. It was brilliant to watch.
Oh, yeah. And to be fair, first half, we didn't really create anything, did we? Clear cut. There was one point where we crossed the ball in, and I think, wasn't it flicked over to Aaron Hayden? It sort of landed at a weak side-footed volley, and that was probably one of our clearest chances in the first half. But going into the second half, I was kind of thinking, yeah, it's 0-0. They've thrown their best at us, and we've not conceded. It was an excellent defensive display first half, and I wasn't really worried at all. Yes, Leighton had to make some great saves, but I think the way we sort of did like a rope and dope sort of, you know, boxing style sort of performance where, yeah, Chesterfield threw everything they could at us first half. Going into that dressing room after the first half, you'd be thinking, what can we do to score against these? And you could see evidently that their heads went down second half, didn't they, Mark?
Yeah, but I think the difference between that and rope-a-dope is that Ali meant to do that. Well, as Ali tells it, after the first minute, he decided to do that. So maybe it is like rope-a-dope, but we had half an hour to suffer, and Ali had a minute where he goes out against George Foreman, intending to get on the front foot. Foreman hurts him in the first minute, and Ali thinks, if I try and go toe-to-toe with him, I'll get hurt and I'll lose. So he decides to sit back, absorb the pressure, and then strike. There's that wonderful moment in the documentary When We Were Kings, which won the Oscar, about that fight, where Foreman, it's brilliant to listen to. I've seen it a million times, but the hair stands up on the back of my neck, where Foreman said, you know, he was unbeaten. He considered himself unbeatable as well, and he tended to make short work of all the good contenders. He battered Joe Frazier, and he said, you know, because Ali was just drawing him in, Frazier hit him with everything he had, and Ali was still there. And he said just before Ali went on the attack, Ali leaned in and whispered into George Foreman's ear, "Is that all you've got, George?" And Foreman said, I'm getting the goosebumps now just telling you about it. Foreman in this documentary said, when he said that to me, I thought, yeah, it is. And he knew he was in real trouble. I loved the thought of Phil Parkinson after half an hour just leading up to Paul Cook and just saying, "Is that all you've got, Paul? Is that all you've got?" But I think it was we didn't want to suffer like that. It was because Chesterfield got their tactics right and they outmaneuvered us, and they ought to have punished us, but Leighton did his job really well. I think you're right about the defence. I think the back three were excellent, even when we were under pressure. The problem was there was so much space in front of them. They were getting extra players in those areas that they could get shots off, or try and draw a centre back out and play the ball in behind. But once we altered it, we were Ali on the attack. We were really, got at them. You say about those Hayden chances. I've got to say, he had 2 chances in the first half, and they were both very good chances. He was clearly very disappointed in himself. I mean, the volley, he's 1-on-1 with the keeper. Disappointing that he didn't finish that. And then he had a header from a corner. Was it a corner or throw-in? I think it was a corner, wasn't it? At the far post. It's a free header, 6 yards out, and he's coming on it, and he's essentially just headed it the way he's running rather than put it back towards goal. There were 2 those 2 and Asante's 1-on-1 are the 3 best chances of the half, even though they dominated us. And I felt as well they were a bit of a harbinger for what was to come, because I thought Chesterfield's defending of set pieces was appalling. And then the second part of the managerial tactical battle, if you will, Chesterfield were really obviously trying to keep a very high line from set pieces, which, let's be honest, I guess is partly to compensate for the fact that they can't defend set pieces. If you lose a header from a set piece, but it's 25 yards out, hopefully it's not going to drop anywhere dangerous. But they were too high. And the chance that we got, which one was it? Oh, the sitter that Palmer missed came about because the line was too high and Hayden could just nod it down to him and he should have scored.
Yeah.
And then after that was the Hall Johnson penalty shout, which came from a set piece which they didn't defend all that well. And then came our first goal. And that was all in the space of 4 minutes, because and just before the goal from the set piece that came from, their captain Grimes, who was centre-back, but very shaky in the air. It was really animated, trying to get them higher and higher and higher at the back. They were already 25 yards out. The free kick's on, sort of 10 yards into their half. And I was like, it's suicidal. Let's drop it in behind him and win something. But he was desperate to do that, and then we punished him. And Paul Cook's an experienced manager. He's a very good manager. But I was really surprised that neither he nor a leader on the pitch said, hang on, every time Wrexham get a free kick on the halfway line, they make a chance to score. Maybe we should, maybe we're defending this wrong, because it was like shooting fish in a barrel, making chances from set pieces against them.
Yeah, that was the point I got from the first half was, that's the blueprint to beat this team, is whip the ball into Hayden, because it looks like they panic every time. And that's exactly what happened, didn't it? And we did have that Ollie Palmer sitter, which he missed, which was such a shame. And and I completely forgot out of my head. We had the penalty shout, and looking back at it, for me, that was a penalty.
Time for me to do my hero of referees act now.
Okay.
Having looked at it a few times, I think the ref did well with that one. Hall Johnson's, I think, was hurt. He landed on his shoulder, but I think Loach did get to the ball first, and then Johnson's run through his arms, not deliberately. And I'm quite sure, it looked touch and go, but having watched it a few times, I think that's a good piece of goalkeeping, to be fair. I would not say that was true of Loach throughout the match, but that was a good piece of goalkeeping. However, do you remember early on in the second half, before that, Bryce Susanna went down off the ball in the box, and he was adamant it was a penalty.
Yeah.
He's right. And again, I'm going to stick up for the ref. The ref missed it, but it was off the ball. I don't blame the ref for missing it. And the linesman was on the opposite side, so the linesman couldn't help him. But it was astonishing. Hosanna had come down the left-hand side and played it back. And when it was fed back into the box by, I think, McAlinden, Hosanna went sprinting past Tyrone Williams, and Williams just stuck his foot out and kicked him. I mean, he was about a foot outside him. I thought Williams surely could have just stepped across and had a little accidental-looking collision, and I don't think any ref would have given that, But he didn't. He just stuck his foot out and kicked him. Definite penalty if the ref saw it. But like I say again, I'm sticking up for the ref here. It was off the ball. I didn't see it at the time. The ref surely is following the ball, so he hasn't got any right to see it. And like I said, the linesman's on the wrong side to help out. So I don't blame the officials at all for missing it. But having looked at it again on the footage, definite 100% penalty. He kicked him. He just stuck his foot out and kicked him. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was a really stupid thing to do. I mean, you could even, I'm not saying this, I wouldn't agree with this, but you could even advocate it's a red card. I mean, it's worse than what Beckham did to Simeone in the 98 World Cup, you know? He's kicked him off the ball. Well,
violent conduct.
Yeah, it's definitely a penalty.
You
No
can't-
question. He's gave him a thumb. Stupid, but
We should have had the penalty at some point. Looking at real time, I did think the Reece Johnson one was a penalty.
I did at the time.
Yeah. So I've seen penalties a lot worse than that, if you know what I mean, worse decisions than that before. But anyway, the first goal came in and it was a scrappy one, wasn't it? But well, it was well worked in some ways. It was the ball. I was getting confused between that first one and the second one. It came off a Jordan Davis shot, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Was that saved? Was that saved?
Yeah.
It was a hell of a save, wasn't it? To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, they failed to deal with the set piece again, didn't they? When it came in, Jordan, just like at Wealdstone, absolutely nailed a close range volley. And again, just like at Wealdstone, goalkeeper makes the save of the season just to keep him out.
Yeah, exactly. And then it landed to Max Cleworth, who flicked it on to Palmer, from my memory.
Yeah, that's right. In the interview afterwards, Palmer was full of praise for Cleworth. You know, and it was quite interesting to listen to him. He was saying it just shows the quality of player we got here. Cleworth is a young lad jumping in the 6-yard box, but he doesn't try and score because he's able to think, if I knock it square, Palmer's bound to score. And it was a nice, you know, like you said, it's scrappy in the sense that, you know, both goals are a bit of a mess in some ways. They're not pretty, but the mess is all on Chesterfield's part for being opened up like that. You know, they've allowed Davis to get unmarked into the 6-yard box. Keeper bails them out, but then they've allowed Cleworth to win the second ball in the goal mouth, and then they've left Palmer on his own as well. You know, I mean, that's 3 opportunities to stop the attack where they've given us a great chance and we've punished them. It was just, it was great stuff though by Cleworth. I believe that some Chesterfield fans have been trying to complain that Cleworth climbed on his man. I mean, no chance. But it was a good header. You know, I mean, I was very impressed with Cleworth. You know, isn't that wonderful that he's developed? So we all season we've been going on about him, saying that we rate him. Yeah. But you were the one who said if he's good enough for the league, he should be playing. And he's proven it. He's wonderful. He's stepped up like this, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I think I had a feeling that like Chesterfield were trying to target him as well at the first half with Joe Quigley,
yeah,
was it?
Quigley,
who plays for him? He was they were putting Max Cleworth under a horrendous amount of pressure, but again, he deals with it again in a big atmosphere, in a big game away from home where we need a game like this to kick on for the rest of the season. And hearing Palmer saying the quality that he has, and you know, Parkinson obviously rates him because, you know, we've got other centre halves who are on the bench or in the squad, and he's picking a young lad over him. Yeah, he's really going to be one to watch for the future, isn't he?
Absolutely. And then, of course, for the last 20-odd minutes, they trundled on old Truckosaurus, didn't they? Tom Denton, a massive target man. I think it's only his second appearance of the season, and the Chesterfield fans were delighted to see him. And yeah, he dominated Cleworth in the air. He targeted Cleworth. But the fact of the matter is that, again, Cleworth and the rest of the defence didn't panic about it. I was really impressed once it had gone to 2-0. Although we can't skip that second goal, but just to say this for a moment, our shape, I thought, was superb when it was 2-0. We kept a high line, which meant that if Denton was good, Denton's going to beat any centre-back in the air consistently because he's huge. And there's no shade in Cleworth that Denton was winning those headers. But Cleworth and the rest of the defence made sure that he was winning them 25 yards out. So there was no harm in it. He wasn't going to drop in the goal mouth. And then our midfield, because we kept that high line and because the forwards dropped off a little bit and let Chesterfield come to the halfway line, it meant that, yeah, okay, you can come this far. But then you've got the whole Wrexham team well organised with good shape, and you've got to try and play your way through that. You know, and in the space of about 25 yards, you've got to pass your way through the whole lot of us. You stick it over the top. Hayden's quicker than you, and Hall Johnson and Hosanna are quicker than you and Cloweth, and they'll recover. And it was a really compact unit. And the only chance they made up after it was 2-0 was in injury time when Tozer cleared the corner off the line. But yeah, it was brilliant. But I skipped the second goal, haven't I? Which was hysterical. You enjoyed that one, didn't you?
Oh yeah, my favourite goal of the season. It was just all over the place, wasn't it? Palm of God, I'm going to call it, because that was definitely a handball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a rugby try, wasn't it? He sort of like swooped it and then toe pegged it, and then the Chesterfield players were quite clearly angry because if you look at the footage, it was a clear handball, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I would also argue, and this is also from my lad and his mates who were in the away end, and I had a sort of reverse view. The ball comes in, and Hayden's first header is blocked on the line by Tom Whelan with his hand, I would say. So I think it should have been a handball, penalty to us, and a red card for Whelan. It drops down, Hayden hits her again, and yeah, it sort of looks to me like Palmer, as he's trying to pivot, the ball actually gets stuck between his body and his hand, and then drops down and smash it in. So I can see why they're not happy with that. But you watch that footage again, and you'll see that when all the Chesterfield players are going nuts, Whelan doesn't much. He puts his hand up to complain, but he doesn't really join in the complaints, because surely in the back of his head, he's thinking, maybe the ref saw me handle it on the line, but then before he could blow the whistle, give the penalty and send me off, he saw Palmer score and just thought, well, everyone's happy if I leave it as a goal, because otherwise Chesterfield end up being 2-0 down with 10 men. So I'll just give a goal. And so maybe that's why Whelan didn't complain quite so much. He was thinking, I don't particularly want to get myself suspended. Start of his second spell back at the club. His first start of that second spell. I don't really want to get myself suspended now. So yeah, I think that was a justice is done decision, but it was funny, wasn't it?
Yeah. Isn't he ex-Eastleigh?
Yeah, that's right. He played very well against us right at the start of the season. Yeah,
a cracking player, really good. Yeah. I thought he played okay last night as well. To be fair, a really good, energetic midfielder.
Well, I thought he was over the 90. I thought he was their best player. Because
I thought so too.
Asante started well, but the service dried up to him a bit, and then the other player. I mean, I am a big fan of Liam Mandeville, their attacking midfielder, who plays behind the front too, and he's a class act. And in the first 25 minutes, he was really hurting us. I thought he was magnificent. And after we changed our shape, he completely disappeared to the extent that they subbed him. And I think that just said everything about our performance. That their star man in the first 25 minutes looked sensational, just disappeared once we took control. He couldn't do a thing to help his team. And that's a huge compliment to Wrexham and to Parkinson for spotting the threat and nullifying it.
Yeah, it was just one of those excellent away days, wasn't it? That had everything under the lights, amazing away support and amazing home support as well, in all fairness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, in all fairness. It was
5,000. I remember crowds of 5,000 would be excited. Look, I'm
Would
sorry.
You class that as a big crowd game?
I'm not forgiving them for 1997. So as far as I'm concerned, nah, I'll give them nothing. Plus the whole Adi Yusuf thing.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. With hindsight, maybe we shouldn't have cared that much.
But it was a special away day, and the scenes in the away end were something else. And these 6 points, the Wealdstone game was a nitty-gritty game and the hard conditions in a tough stadium. The pitch was a bit crazy. To go 1-0 down, to score 2 last-minute goals, then to go to Chesterfield, a team that have been excellent all season. May have been a different game if they had Shamanga, but it may have been a different game if we had Mullin. They've been brilliant all season. Then to get a 2-0 win away from home, maybe is this the catalyst to start our season off now?
That's also. Although I feel it's been brewing for a while. I mean, I know I said something similar last week. I know, but on the sly, we've already got our season going. You look at the stats when we've won 3 in a row now. Before that was the Maidenhead Torquay games. Before that we won 3 in a row. Before that was Notts County match. Before that we won 4 in a row. Then was the Yeovil loss. Before that we won 2 in a row. You know what I mean? And then the Wealdstone draw. Before that we had the 5-0 and the 6-2 away from home. So I mean, I'd argue that really since November we've been on it. It's exciting that, like you're quite right, these back-to-back wins going with the Boreham Wood one as well, they do feel good, and they do coincide with the 3 new players coming in, and you feel they're just going to, they'll just settle in more. We saw quite a lot of what Tom O'Connor's about yesterday, but we still, I don't think, have seen everything of him. But I'm feeling pretty good about this, to be honest with you. Everyone sort of wonders when we're going to start really clicking. Well, again, if you allow me to do a bit of on-the-spot maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. We've won 10 of our last 13 games. That's promotion form for me. So,
well, it's promotion form, but we are still sitting at 5th.
True.
We're 9 points behind Stockport with a game in hand. But we do have Aldershot and Kings Lynn as our next 2 games. You've got to be looking at them 2 games and thinking that's 6 points right there, haven't you?
Well, we've got to make sure they are. It would be a huge shame, wouldn't it, to be digging in and getting these fabulous away results and then end up with the home games against load of teams and not take advantage of them. But, I mean, to put this another way, if you're looking at the rest of the season, I'm standing by this and said it consistently throughout. Any team from around this point of the season who hits the good form will be fine. There's plenty of time to go. And if we are able to maintain a winning momentum, I think we win the league. Because you're right, Stockport are 9 points ahead of us, but they've got to maintain their rhythm. Can they keep it going? We've got a game in the hand and they've still got to come to ours. So those 9 points, it's within our hands to whittle it down substantially. And then when you look at our remaining matches, we got 16 games left, 11 of them at home. The hell of a lopside is we've played the least home games in the division and we've played the most away games in the division. So, I know we had problems at home, but part of the reason we got many fewer points at home is because we played so many fewer games at home. So looking at the league table, bottom of the table's Dover. They haven't come to the racecourse yet. Second to bottom, Kings Lynn. They haven't come to the racecourse yet. Third from bottom is Weymouth. Okay, we played them. Fourth from bottom, Altrincham. They haven't come to the racecourse yet. Fifth from bottom, Maidenhead. Don't talk about that. Then Wealdstone. Okay, so they nick points off us. But then Aldershot are coming up on Saturday. Then Barnet. These, so that's what? 6 of the bottom 9 who haven't been to the racecourse yet. So these are crucial matches. I know everyone wants to look at games against promotion rivals and think they're crucial matches, but let's be honest, if we put away all the teams we should put away at home, then we should be in a better position than we are now. And I like the position we're in now, to be honest.
Yeah, I like the position we're in now. However, if we look at, the Wealdstone home game, the Torquay home game, a couple of other games we've had this season, Maidenhead at home, I personally think the last few games of the season, we're really going to be kicking ourselves that we didn't take 3 points from these games, because I really do think we would be, if we did take more points from these silly games that we drew, we would be really, really on Stockport's tail now. And I don't think we're going to be quite there come the end of the season winning the title. But it's a good time to gather momentum to get into the playoffs. And we want that home tie, because you get the one less game, don't you? In the National League playoff system. So we want that one game and then get off to Wembley we go. It might not be Wembley this year, but it could be wherever it is.
Let's go back at.
Yeah.
Nice place, apparently.
Yeah, it's a lovely place, and it's the only place I've enjoyed in London. So yeah.
I'd also say, as I'm trying to make maths be our friend here, we're fifth in the table. In terms of points per game, we're fourth in the league. And the three teams above us have all yet to come to the racecourse. So I just like that idea that, we spend heavily. We've got quality players in. I'm hoping that those difficult home matches that you rightly point out, well, once you've got the crossing quality of McFadden, when you've got Palmer, who wins headers, you've got Mullin developing a partnership with him, you got O'Connor shoring up midfield and making us really solid so you can't get through the middle of us. And also that gives you more rein for the wing backs to get forwards. I'd like to think that if all that's clicking, and we're already winning a lot of our games, I'd like to think that we're going to go into those matches having addressed those problems and in a position, hopefully, to have the tilt at top spot.
Well,
I'm being an optimist.
That last home game against Stockport, let's hope there is something to play for.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that point, because I think that could be one of the biggest games in non-league history, couldn't it? With the size of both clubs. Yeah. So, yeah. So after this, we're going to talk a few Wrexham bits and bobs.
This is Sean Brisley. This is Dragonheart.
Mark's been interacting with a few fans on Twitter about bad weather Wrexham games. One that really springs to my mind is the one we had last Saturday against Wealdstone, where it was really, really, really touch and go throughout the whole journey. And the further we went down south, the more windy and rainy it got. So credit to them for having the game on. But let's have it, Mark. Let's see what other people have been saying.
Well, you were quite right. I was going to refer to that tough tackling area of depression, Storm Soonest, as I believe it should have been called. There are some good ones. Now, I've got to apologise first, because ever since I saw this tweet, and this good gentleman has spoke to us in the past. I don't know. I'm going to mess your name up, Joe. Joe Liardet? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a good call. He says, by far the coldest he's been at a football match was a match 1996, March, Wrexham 5, Bournemouth 0. I remember the game vaguely, but I don't remember how cold it must have been. He said the snow on the pitch that night made the West Ham game look like a Spanish holiday. It certainly didn't seem to affect Wrexham. 1-5-0. Had to feel slightly sorry for the 40 or so Bournemouth fans. Yeah, it's a lovely trek, isn't it? That to come along and be freezing. I replied to Joe saying that's a nasty away trip for him, and he said it was a nasty enough journey home for the home fans that night. So I can't remember the snowiness of it at all, But a football match in the cold. Maybe not so bad when you're playing, but
yeah, I still feel bitter when I see Bournemouth doing how well they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, are you the same as me that you get in your mind when you start watching football? You sort of, without realizing it, you get a hierarchy of what clubs are.
Yeah.
To me, Wigan being above us is a joke. Wigan are a non-league team as far as I'm concerned. And Bournemouth were always a team that we tended to always beat at home and lose away to, and they were usually either the same league as a sort of league below. What the heck's going on? Madness.
Yeah. Well, we'll soon be with them. I'm not worried about that.
Lovely. Well, also, got celebrity responses here. Kizza. Yeah, Kizza was saying Ebbw Vale in the Welsh Cup 1988-89 at the Eugene Cross Park. I assure you I was not there. It was so cold that the halftime rush into the clubhouse was to get a spot by the radiators, not a pint. And then Spirit of 78 said Fulham in the snow, night match, ridiculous. I think there was another comment about that one. I'm sure there was, because that was one that stuck in my mind. We beat Fulham 2-0 in the snow. It was really quite heavy snow. And my real memory, I can't find it. Oh dear, I'm going to apologize here. There was another person talking about this, and for some reason I can't find your comment. I remember really clearly that we scored a goal where Kieran Durkin hit a fantastic striker of a volley, hit a volley from the edge of the box. It hit the bar, and I think as Brian Hughes scored the rebound, but all the snow on the bar, it was beautiful, just came down in this lovely horizontal line as once the shot hit the bar. When you watch it on the video, it's not the same. It doesn't look as great as it did in real life.
Yeah.
I sort of enjoyed the fact that the snow fell like that more than the fact that we scored off the rebound. It's brilliant. John O'Devitt says we played Macclesfield 3-2 loss, really soaking wet game. Ben Sharif got caught out by the ball, just getting stuck in the water twice, and just left it for them to score. That might be nothing to do with the water, John. Come on, remember Ben Sharif. And then James Gray scored the most aesthetically pleasing volley and smashed all the water off the net on impact. I think that's 2 different seasons. Ben Sharif was the season after with the Gary Mills mad team. And that was his last game against Macclesfield. We lost 3-0. And he my recollection of that was that he just left the ball. He just left the ball for Luke Coddington. And it was never Coddington's ball. And Macclesfield scored. The 3-2 was the soaking wet one, like I said, with James Gray launching it and scoring. And then, of course, John follows up rightly saying, then there was Macclesfield away in the snow, where a bit of my soul remains frozen to this very day. That was a cold day. I'm not sure that game should have taken place. I tell you, in general, cold days at Macclesfield, a different game again, not that one. I remember going to Macclesfield and greeting us in the press box was a dead rat who'd frozen to death. Poor fella. He was just lying there on the floor in the press box. So that's how cold Macclesfield is.
Macclesfield in extreme weather. Remember the year we almost went down the Boston season and we played Macclesfield and they beat us?
Oh, yeah.
It was extremely hot that day, wasn't it?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
What about extreme heat?
Yeah. I was thinking more. I was thinking extreme heat as well, because there was a lot of drunk people in the crowd that day and the game was awful. And a lot of Wrexham fans arguing with each other, probably because it was so hot as well. So I thought extreme heat would be one that's comes up as well, but maybe not.
I remember the game at Ployest, our last game in Europe, was boiling hot. Really, just a day where you feel you're going to get really burnt. And there were no covers on the stands. And I also remember a Welsh Cup final in the late 80s. We were playing Swansea, but as I recall, I think it was actually at Swansea's ground. And they were a good team, and they battered us in the first half. And so Dixie was manager, and as a sort of punishment, decided that I don't think he let the players come in at half time. He made them just warm up through half time. And they were on their knees and boiling hot. They were on their knees by the start of the second half. And we were worse in the second half than the first. So it didn't quite work, that little motivational trick, I think, that one. And John,
old school, that.
Very old school, isn't it?
Yeah.
John also says he remembers a wet game where Blaine Hudson did the biggest slide tackle ever and made a trench on the pitch. To this day, there's a divot which my dad and I call the Hudson Memorial Trench. I like that.
I love that.
Chris Jones reckons possibly my favourite ever Wrexham game, which is Colchester when we were battling for survival in the 4th Division. 100% agree. 89, 90.
Is that the crazy kit season?
That's right. We had the
deck chair kit. Yeah.
As he said, if Colchester won, we were as good as relegated, which is correct because there weren't that many games left, and Colchester had been miles ahead of us, but we'd found a little run of form. And as he says, quite rightly, if memory serves me right, they went ahead. The weather changed dramatically for the worse, and we came back to win. We found out God was a Wrexham fan that day. I'm so glad he finished with that comment, because that's exactly how I've always seen it. Something up there happened. We were losing. We equalised straight away from the kickoff. We gave them a stupid goal mix-up between Nigel Beaumont and Vince O'Keefe in goal. And you think, we've battled to get back into a must-win game, and then handed them a lead again. And then just suddenly, as Angus the sheepdog, because he says the same thing. Colchester at home when Gary Worthington scored. I think we needed to win to stay up. Well, pretty much. It was a sunny day. Colchester were winning, and then this black cloud came from nowhere. Absolutely agree. There was huge gales of wind, hailstorms. We had a short, really sharp spell of hail and wind, and we scored. Well, we were losing 1-0. The weather turned. The ball would not come out of their penalty area. And we just penned them into their half and into their box, scored twice, and then the weather improved a bit. Angus the Sheepdog says, I can still see that black cloud coming from the Monera Mountain direction now from my position at the back of the cop. And in goal for them was a young lad on loan from Nottingham Forest, Andy Marriott, before he came to us. And I remember very clearly Marriott trying to throw the ball out, and the ball would just hang about 20 yards out. He couldn't throw it out. They were just completely pushed back into their box until we scored 2 goals, and then the weather seemed to clear up a bit. It was amazing, that game.
Wow.
Really amazing.
That's one you've talked about a lot when we've had conversations about our favourite games.
Chris also gives us, it's a proper obscure one. Welsh Cup 5th round, 9th of February, 1988, at home to Tonpentra. Look, the way he paints the pictures is beautiful. Wind, hail, snow. Crowd of about 600. Wrexham wore the green away kit, short sleeves, and they all looked freezing apart from Joey. Sounds about right. And there's more to come. There's more to come. Again, Kizza saying that he'd forgotten that when he said somebody had to hold the ball still for free kicks and corners to be taken. Otherwise, the wind blew the ball away. Kelvin Davis. Bradford City, December 1967. Snowing, and my car skidded on the hill in Saltney and went into a smashed car on a tow truck. Insurance tried to claim damage on already damaged car. Continued on train, which was like a cattle carriage, a long and comfortable journey, lost 7-1. Oh. That's my favourite paragraph I've ever read. Oh, Sean Parry also said Macclesfield away, and Sean Thomas, I beg your pardon. And finally, Matthew Wynne Williams, Crew away in the frost, a Gary Bennett winner, 1992 Boxing Day, I think, if I remember, or the called off fog West Ham away game. Yeah, that Crew game, I remember being in the away end. It was a wonderful assist. But Barry Jones just like smashed it from right back the length of the pitch, and Bennett ran onto it and volleyed it home. But that was a cold day, absolutely. Any others come in mind for you, Chay?
I don't really think off the top of my head. As I said, the Macclesfield game where it was extremely hot that day, which is rare for football in this country, isn't it? And there was the Boston game where it was extremely hot as well. But would you say extreme heat affects a player more than extreme coldness? It'd be a tough.
How extreme, I suppose, is the facile answer, isn't it? You know, I mean,
well,
weather slows you down, doesn't it? But if you get so cold you can't properly function, you got a problem. There's a famous game from the late 70s at Sunderland, Roker Park, their old ground, which was famously cold. And I remember talking to David Giles, who was a Wales midfielder who played for us. He was like Mickey Thomas's replacement, saying how he couldn't feel his feet. And it was just, and he was saying it was the coldest he'd ever experienced. And a lot of players have talked about that as a sort of iconic. We drew 1-1 at Sunderland, but it was just freezing solid.
What's your one then?
Welsh Cup tie against Colwyn Bay. We'd just beaten Arsenal. We got Colwyn Bay in the Welsh Cup. They came with a good reputation, played us off the pitch. They're beating us 3-1. And then fog comes from behind a Wrexham stand, like somebody was there with a smoke machine. It was out of the blue and just came billowing. It was amazing. Ref had to abandon the game. It was just, you just couldn't, within the space of about 2 minutes, it went from beautiful clear nights to can't see a thing. And we were so bad in that game. You thought, well, yeah. 2 years later, God's still a Wrexham fan. He saved us from that. So when we rearranged the game, they beat us 2-0. Exactly the same match.
Deserved then.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't argue with that. Fair play.
But yeah, hopefully no more extreme weather coming this Saturday. Hopefully we have a nice maybe a little bit of rain. I don't mind it when it's raining a little bit, or just normal footballing weather would be good, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
So after this, we're gonna finish the show and talk a bit about Wrexham.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
There's been the announcement of the season ticket renewals, which I think will be popular again. I think they'll be flying out.
Brilliant that the prices are frozen. Appropriate after the last section we were talking, isn't it? But the prices are frozen regardless of what league we're in, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, that's an excellent gesture by the club. Let's hope it's a football league bargain.
Well, let's hope it is a football league bargain, because there's going to be some really big games in that if we get promoted. But yeah, that's fantastic. The club has been thinking about the fans a lot. So yeah, we've got a big game on Saturday against Aldershot where we hope to continue our momentum. If you are attending the game, safe travels. Hopefully the weather's good. But if you're not, look at Match Centre on Twitter, official Wrexham AFC. There'll be commentary on Wrexham Player too. And there'll be updates via Twitter. So follow the Wrexham AFC Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the Dragonheart Instagram, Twitter, all of that great stuff. So
Hot Take podcast on the final whistle.
Hot Take
podcast after.
And of course, Dragonheart again next week. So yeah, enjoy all this lovely content we're creating here. So thanks very much. Really enjoyed speaking to them, doing this on Mark. Some podcasts are harder than others to do, but this one was a very easy one to do.
I behaved myself.
Well, let's hope we're breaking down another Wrexham win next week.
Absolutely.
So this has been Dragonheart.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.